Cool. Yeah, so for today we will talk about media queries a bit, about floating, about positioning, what is normalizers and why do we use them. We will talk about DevTools, and we will start building a landing page. So I bet that for people who were on our event for Let's Build a Landing Page Together, they will recognize the design. But I think that this is very good design for beginners to try and build something. So yeah, if you are new for basically, and you haven't been on our separate event, not this course, then you might saw this design. Sorry, yeah. Okay, so let me just quickly show you the design that we are planning to build. So that will be for today. We will start this page, and you need to finish this page at home. And again, when you will be building this stuff and you're stuck on something or you don't know how to fix things, feel free to just ask the question in Slack, and I'm happy to respond and explain and help you basically. So yeah, if you're stuck on any point, feel free to ask. We will talk about all the details of this landing page, but yeah, that will be a bit later. Great. So let me just quickly terminal. Desktop. CD lesson. I hope this is the right one. It's not. Okay, yeah, anyway, let me actually, sorry, for some reason, I don't have the actual repo. 1 second. Static frontend course. No, this one actually, courses. So here, so one more thing that if you're new and you haven't seen the code examples from previous lessons or other code examples for the slides, here's a link to our repository. So feel free just to clone this repository so you can see the code. Great. So let me just remove everything from here. And great, so git clone. And we are cloning. Brilliant. It might take a few moments because we have all assets there. So yeah, done. Perfect. So we have curricula, we have static frontend, and for today, I believe we have this one. Examples. Yeah, float index positioning. Perfect. Sorry. Great. So I just want to open our lesson. Come on. Static, all right. Static frontend lesson 2, and open index. Oh yeah, sorry. CD examples and open index HTML. So where's our examples here? Here. Yeah, so you have 3 things, right? Media query, float, positioning, and yeah, we'll talk about normalizers, DevTools, and start building something. That's awesome. Great. So, did anyone know why we use media queries? Why do we have them? Anyone? Mobile responsive, exactly. So basically for not just for mobile, but for responsiveness. So we use media queries to make sure that your design will look nice for every single screen size. So even if you're on the same, like in opening the website in different screens, monitors, you want to make sure that you're not breaking the design, right? So when you're resizing, that should look as you would expect. Yes. So that is why we basically we have media queries. And so let's actually go to media queries. I will open the code here and we will talk about that. So here we have a few examples of media queries. So first of all, as you said, this is so media rule used to basically apply different styles for different devices or screen sizes. So we have for media queries, we have conditions like width, height, media type, and we will talk about what kind of types we potentially can have. Orientation, so that can be landscape or portrait, because for example tablet or phone you can rotate it and that will be different layout. And resolution. So the most common, I would say, is media type. So the most popular is width or height, and the second most popular is media type. So what is media type? For media types, we have 4 options. So we have all, which is default. So if you do not mention anything, that will use all. We have print. That means that you want to write stylings just for when you print a page. So you can actually, if you have an article and you want to print it, you can just click, when you click in Command P or Control P, and you want to print the web page, you can actually have specific styles for that. So you can hide a lot of, sections that you don't want to print. You just want to show the article. For example, you want to print only articles. So you can make kind of accessible your website, and you can write specific styles for print. The next one is screen. So that means that you want to cover specific just screens. Basically, that for you, that means that any device with a screen, and this is what we normally have for websites, right? And speech. This is for the websites for people who use like voice control and screen readers. So you have basically three options, and one is like all, includes all of them, right? So print, screen, and speech. So commonly used, as I said, is screen. So we have this is an example of one. Is you write in @media, then you defining what type you want to have, because you might not define it, so you can avoid this one. But let's say you have @media for screen, and you specifying another one. So you want to say that min width for this block of CSS should be 400 pixels, right? And you basically just specifying the rule when you want to apply the CSS that is inside this section. And for print is @media print, and you specifying whatever styles you want to have for print. So for displays, for screens, you have min width, max width, and orientation. I would say that we also have min height, max height, but the most popular is min width, max width, and orientation. So when we want to use min width and when we want to use max width, so theoretically, it's more kind of theoretical thing, because they will behave in the same way if you specify the similar kind of condition. But min widths, that means when you have your stylings and add in media queries with min widths, that means that all your default stylings will be for mobile first, and then when you're saying that and min width should be like 800 pixels, do this or apply other stylings. That means that you covering, as an extra case, you covering desktops. So this approach, and you probably heard about that, we have like mobile first development. This is because all default stylings without media queries covering design for mobile devices. And when you, if you want to add or style for desktop, you just add in media queries with min widths. And the opposite true for max widths. So max widths basically is desktop first approach, when your default stylings covering desktop, and if you want to style specifically for your mobile devices, you just write in media queries with max widths property. Yeah, so let's actually go to code examples, and we will see what we have here. So I've just commented out all code, but here I'm saying that min widths should change my styling. So for my kitten, I want to have these stylings. So when I reach widths of my viewport, of my, let's say, screen size or browser size, 764, then I want to apply this section, right? So now if I refresh so let me make it smaller, refresh. So this is how it is, right? So this is mobile first. But once I start expanding and get to 768, right? Now it's growing because I've just changed the stylings for this, right? So now it's bigger. So I'm covering, so for that case, it is mobile first, and I'm covering specific behavior for a desktop. And you can have multiple breakpoints. So for me, one breakpoint is 764, sorry, and for another breakpoint, I want to have for 1024. And that means that theoretically will cover tablets, and this one will cover desktops. So if I save this one, refresh, so the smallest one is like this. When you start resizing, it goes big. And when you reach 1024, it goes even bigger, right? Pretty simple. So yeah, it just as easy as it is. The same for max widths. So that means that I want to specify, this is like desktop first, right? And now I'm specifying that if the max widths for this group of stylings should be 1024. So here I have based on max widths. So as you can see, this is just the same. We have the same size for all screens. Sorry, it's just jumping, right? So we're not modifying this one. But if I uncomment this code, again, one breakpoint and the second breakpoint, right? You can have 3 breakpoints, 4 breakpoints, it doesn't matter. You have no limits. And here, refresh. So now if I start shrinking my cat, now is smaller. And if I shrink even more, it became even more smaller, right? So this is max widths. And again, you can see that it behaves the same, right? Breakpoints is the same. And as I said, the desktop first or mobile first is more theoretical things rather than just actual practical things. Again, in theory, if you have more users if it's kind of, if you see that your traffic comes from mobile devices, you might want to say that, okay, I want to develop mobile first, and for specific case, for like extra thing to cover the desktops, I want to add a few media queries. And again, if you see that your traffic to your website comes from desktop, you probably want to write your stylings you want to write your stylings for desktop first, and then you add media queries to cover the mobile devices. And again, it's always tricky because when you build in your new website, you never know where your traffic will come from, right? So maybe sometimes in specific cases you might guess, but yeah, it's still like more theory rather than practice. But you need to know the difference, desktop first and mobile first. Yeah, so we also have for min height, let me show you, as I said, and we have min height, another one. So we have min height for 400 pixels, min height for 600 pixels. And let me show you here. So this one is min height. So we have min height, but that means that I need to, let me actually comment it out, the code that for, not min height, for max widths and for min widths. I want to comment it out as well, so that will not jump and do not distract us from the main subject. Okay, so here, this one, if I change height, whoa, sorry. Yeah, so if you change height, we change in the size of the image, right? Because that will be based on the screen size. So again, it depends. Normally you have height when you start playing with orientation. So you might want to cover specific height. So that's fine. But it's very rare case, and to be honest, it's not very popular. But again, you need to know that if you need, you might cover this specific case. And the same we have for, sorry, let me get to our min height. So we have max height and max height here, right? Similar stuff, but for max height. So now if I start expanding, same thing, right? But you can have different sizes and different stylings for your elements. Yeah. So the last bit that I want to show you is the print. So we have our image here. Oh yeah, right. This is for resolution, but where is my print? Yeah, this one. Yeah. So we have a tiny image print for print, and I want to specify the height of that element when I try to print it. So if I click Command P, my image for print will be like this, right? Where is it? Like here. Oh, I forgot to refresh, I think. Max height. Yeah, so see that I've set that height should be 12 centimeters. So now it takes, if it's A4 format, it takes 12 centimeters and take the full width, right? So have specific stylings for the print. And again, normally you, if you have the website, you will have something like you will have a lot of data around, and for print you might want just to display none to everything and just leave your article to print. So when you're printing, you have a clean, nice data. Yes. Any questions on media queries? No? Yes? Maybe? So it's more, so print is more accessibility. It's like if you're some news website or a blog and or recipes website or whatever, you have articles, let's say, and you want to make the life of your users comfortable. So they found a very useful article, they want to print it to share for whatever reason. When they print, they don't want to see all the all advertisement or other articles. Let me just actually go to Guardian News. If you go to any article and click Command P, see that I don't have anything. And for me, if I found this article useful, I just Control P and I will get just the data, which is very nice and comfortable for me. But when I'm on a website, I have different sections with some ads, with more articles, with a lot of stuff, right? And if they don't have this media queries for print, I will print everything with headers, with all of that, but which is not right from the user perspective. But because they have these media queries, we have a nice article that we can just print it and share with others. Okay, is it detrimental to use just max widths and setting limits rather than using min widths? Yeah, so I would say, again, this is more about the approach, about the main, what is your website for. So if you see that traffic comes from mobile, then you use your min widths, because you want to cover as an extra. So default CSS will cover just mobile stylings, and min width, will cover specific cases for desktop. It just, on your opinion, again, it's just an approach. There is no right or wrong. Like, should you use max width or min width? It doesn't matter. It's more theoretical thing, again. When multiple media queries, does the order matters? Yes, as usual. Yeah, so yes, as usual, this is CSS, regular CSS, so you need to keep the order, because actually this is a good question, because if you have the same media queries, right, and you have max height, or like, let's go to widths, because I don't like height, I don't use height. Yeah, here. So I have min widths, I want to apply this, right? And then I want to have min widths 24. So that means if I change the order, that means that I will basically overwrite everything I have here, right? Because you applying this, you have some stylings, and then you have smaller screen. So basically you applying this sooner, and that will just override, because this one includes technically this size. So yes, order matters, and this is actually very important. So that is why you start, like with min widths, you're starting from smaller going to bigger. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, cool. So yeah, next stop is float. So float is actually tricky. And when I started with CSS, it was just breaking my mind, like what's going on, why it doesn't work. And it's very easy to, when you start looking for positioning, it's very easy to Google for float. And like, if you want to have your element on the left, just float left, or right, float right. And like, oh, easy. But then everything is broken, and you're like, what's going on? How to fix it? So float is actually tricky. We have a few options. We have left, right, none, and inherit. And I want to show you just want to show you here with float. So here I have my element, right? I have my image, And I can set to the icon, to the image, I can set float right. So now my image is here. But the problem is that my text just jumped from the below and sits on the side, right? So now basically it is broken layout, which is wrong. You don't want to have it. How to fix it? I just want to move my image here. And like we will talk about Flexbox, we will talk about just Flexbox, and you will see how to do it now, like how people using Flexbox and utilizing it to achieve the same thing. But you will see that especially on older platforms, you might notice float in quite a few places. So you just want to know how to fix such problems and basically know how to work with float. It's not a big thing, but it's very easy to pick up, but very also easy to miss the tiny thing. So yeah, basically, even if I click, so my image is on the left, right? But if I set float left, I'm still basically breaking the layout, which is wrong. So we don't want to have it. But we have an easy fix for that. And let me show here. So this is what I just showed you, that if you're floating, that will just break the layout. And here, if you have with float, we're losing the height. So the initial problem is that you're losing height of the parent element, right? This is what's happening here. If I untick, I will try to do everything very slowly, because here you have a figure, right? So the height of figure is 304 pixels. If I apply float, my figure doesn't have height now. This is a problem. That is why this text goes up, because my figure doesn't have height. That is why. And if you put float back, my figure has height. So this is actual problem of float. And that means that you have a few options to fix it. You can use clear for both, basically to remove all elements from left and right. So you have you can specify clear left, clear right, clear both, inherit and none. But you can just set overflow auto to the parent, which is very, very simple. So here, if I apply, for example, my and so I have my height 0, right? But if I apply overflow auto for my figure, for the parent, now I have my height back, but image sit on the right. Yeah, and your layout is not broken anymore. So this is important part. If you have, just in a short sentence, if you have float and you want to use float, for the parent, set overflow auto to keep the height of the parent and do not break your layout. Again, this is very simple and short thing. Sorry, I keep scrolling. But it is very, very tricky, and people quite often don't know how to resolve this problem. And they start creating some break elements and some block elements. It's just insane. Because trust me, I saw very weird thing in different platforms on my previous jobs when people try to solve this problem with adding some block elements, setting some heights, hard coding. That was just awful. But the actual solution is just overflow auto, and this is it. So this is like a tricky part of CSS. Any questions on this one? No? Okay, yeah, you can, again, you have all code examples, so you can play at home with all these settings and see what's going on and how it behaves. And if you will have any questions, feel free to ask in Slack. So next up is positioning. So positioning is another tricky thing, and normally you will use positioning a lot, I would say, because you're working with your images, and images they have different shapes, and you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing with images. So positioning is important. Sorry, come on, I keep swiping to the wrong screen. So for positioning, we have a few options as usual. We have static position, relative, fixed, absolute, and sticky. So static is basically the default one. Basically this is just a native behavior of the element. Relative, you start positioning your element relatively to the parent, and you can do some manipulation with, I'll show you in a second how to do all of them. And fixed means that you're fixing element relatively to the viewport, to the whole page. So you probably saw, like, actually, if you go to our website, you have this section, right? So see that even scrolling, it's still, this section stays on the same place. So this has position fixed. So this is how position fixed behaves, right? And yeah, so next one is absolute. That will be, this is a very important moment. You will position element absolutely to the closest non-static parent element. Just repeat, to the closest non-static parent element. So by default, all elements are static. So that means if you want to use absolute, you want to define to any parent element, to whatever you want to have a relationship between, you want to define, for example, position relative at least, because relative will not change the behavior of the element. So I will show you what I mean. Here, I have the text, right? P. Here, yeah, P tag. So I want to position it absolute, set position absolute, and set to top 0. As you can see, it doesn't exist, right? Sorry. So let me just set to 100 pixels. And left 10 pixels. Yeah. So this is wrong. You for example, you want to align your item based on this element, or maybe this element, the yellow box, or maybe blue box. But because it goes, so this element, try to position this, so basically position absolute, try to position this element to the closest non-static element. And by default, it takes this one. So this one has position static because we haven't defined anything, and default is static. So it goes to the next one, this one static, this one static, static, and here it's static, and finally it's aligned to the very root element basically, right? And that is why you have it here, position it there, which is wrong. So if I want to position it relatively to this one, let me actually change to 0 and 0, 0, and left 0. If I want to align, so as you can see, if I hover, you have this blue box on the very top left corner. And I want to position absolute to top box, to my blue box. So for this one, I will just set position relative, right? So now my element goes to the parent, static, this one relative. So it will be positioned relatively to this element, right? And now you have top and bottom 0, top and left 0. But you can specify for middle, same thing. So now, again, element goes to the parent, static, goes to this one, relative. So it's positioned relatively to this one. And finally, if you want to keep it in the box and position it within this box, you just set in position relative for this element. And now you can, with your absolute, you can move your element within this green box. So this is, again, this is always tricky. And you might say, why do I want to use it? I just want to show you an example. We have our kittens, right? Float positioning. So let me add an image inside. So I want to add some image, and we have some images, and we have kitten. Refresh. So we have this huge kitten. And I want to position it nicely to the center so that will be aligned and never get outside my green box. So what I will do, so for my image, I want to set position absolute. And so top, I want to set 50%. Sorry, left 50%. Do we actually have, yeah, I want to set position relative. So now you can see that my image, because it's absolute, goes to the parent, looking for non-static, and now it's non-static. So now my image starting from the very center of green box. So the next stop, let me actually, before we do that, before position absolute, I want to set width 100%. Yeah, so we will fit this image inside our green box. So now position absolute, and that will start from the very center. But now we have in CSS, we have transform and another translate. And here we will set -50% and -50%. As you can see, my kitten now is aligned. Let me just change the navigation background color so you can see that it is centered, and I potentially can add some opacity to my image. Opacity, just to show you. 3, right? So it's very centered, right? Vertically and horizontally, this image. So we can actually do some extra manipulations. So what -50 does here, and why it's not just putting the image to the very beginning, right? So like if I undo this, it starts from here. But if I set top 50, left 50, and transform translate -50, -50, it aligns in differently. So when we use top 50 and left 50, that will be based on the element, on the green box. So we will take in top 50 and left 50 based on the height and width of this green box. But when we do translate, it will take 50% of the image height. That is why the actual values are different. And on the image width. That is why you align it like that. So the only thing that is missing, that for your parent, for the bottom, you can set overflow hidden, right? And now you have centered image inside. Yeah? So this is the old way of fitting the different images within the box, because now we have a new century. And the problem with the new approach is that it doesn't support by all browsers, and I'll show it to you. So all you need to do is just object fit cover. Display, should it be display block? I don't use it quite often. Interesting. Oh, right, sorry, not display block. So just you set in width 100% and height 100%. And you get the same result, right? So now it's squashed, which is wrong, but cover will give you the same result that we did with my approach. But if you go to can I use and look for object fit, you will see that Internet Explorer doesn't support it at all, at all. Whoa. So that means that it's not very safe to use object fit, but with my approach, we will get the same result. So if I untick this, we'll have this, and this, right? And just this one will be supported by all browsers. So just keep in mind that if you need to support Internet Explorer, you might want to use this approach. If you don't care about Internet Explorer, you just you can use object fit, width, and height, and this is it. Yep. Any questions? No. Also, the last bit that I forgot to tell you is sticky. What is position sticky? So you can see that if I refresh, my image. Let me just remove my image. So we spoke about absolute. I've showed you what is fixed, and now what is sticky. So sticky means that you basically dynamically swapping between fixed and relative. So your element will behave as relative element by default, so that will be scrollable as everything. But on some point, when you define the you can define this, that will change to fixed to that position. So let me show you that here for my image, I can set, where is my top element? This one. I want to set position sticky. As you can see, it's still on the same place, right? So it behaves as it was. But if I set top, for example, 50 pixels, and now let me just undo, or maybe what is the height of this one? 90. So now, let's say if I get to not 50, but 90, so it will touch the top element. So 91 theoretically, but yeah, 90. So now if I start swiping, see that the whole page is swiping, but my element is stick and not swiping, scrolling to the top, right? And when I'm scrolling down, when we reach the point of 90 pixels from top, that will start unstick and basically becomes relative again, and that will scroll. So this is actually very useful element, very useful property, because you can make some nice UI, and sometimes you have like a second navigation panel. So when you start scrolling, it will get to the top, stick there, and will be all when you're scrolling through the whole page, and when you scroll down back, it will and reach some point, it will unstick and scroll with all the content. Yep. Any questions on this one? No? Okay, we have. If you use object fit, the fallback translate transform work automatically as long as it... No. Oh, yes. So if you include it, yes. But there is no reason to have object fit if you already did. Maybe it is, maybe it's more flexible. Yeah, I would say that as a fallback, you need to write position absolute and like transform translate, but object fit apply after. So if it works, then it will overwrite and nicely cover everything. If it doesn't, then it will apply the regular one, the transform translate. Yep. Okay. So here again, we have a few slides about positioning, so you can check them later if you want. And the next step is normalizers. So normalizers, why do we use them? Does anyone know why we have normalizers and what is that? No? Okay. Oh, reset browser. Yes, yes, Lester, exactly. So we use like different browsers. They have different default stylings. They have slightly different margin, or for example, font size, default font size 12 pixels, and in other browser you might have 14 pixels, and just minor things. And when you using, for example, you building your website and you testing everything in Chrome, and everything looks nice, aligned, etc. And suddenly you open your web, or somebody will open your website in Safari or in Internet Explorer, that will look slightly different. Something might be broken, and you might be surprised, like what's going on. And the problem is that they just have different default stylings. And that is why somebody who sacrificed some time for humanity, I would say, created normalized CSS. So this is just a bunch of CSS. It just literally somebody sit and wrote all the CSS. And now when you add this file, so you can download this file or just copy paste. I just copy paste it and create it in my CSS. So now when you want to develop your website, all you need to do is just add this file before your stylings. So that means that you will reset everything, all default stylings for all browsers, and you will have the same behavior in all browsers. That is why normalize is very important, and every single project that you will work on needs to have normalize, and you need to use it and add to your project. This is like a industry standard, I would say. And you can have you can just copy paste the file, you can download the file and add to the project. You can have, this is like non-relative to this course, but we have npm packages if you're working with React or you're working with any other framework or whatever. We have normalizers there as a package. So if you go to npm, we have normalize. Yep, so you can install it as a package. A lot of different approaches, whatever you prefer. Yeah, so that is why we just use normalizers. Doesn't include the elements being responsive. So no. The normalizers, they just reset in default behavior. This is it. So the default stylings, like I actually can show you that if you open the file, so it's set line height to 115. This is like, again, for all browsers. Body margin 0, display block for main, H1. So, and here you can actually see the explanation. So correct the font size and margin on H1 elements within section and article context in Chrome, Firefox, and Safari, right? So you're setting font size to 2 margin. So you basically just setting default stylings. Isn't it bad having a normalized under your style? Yes, because you accidentally can override it. So that is why, exactly. So because it's cascading, first you want to reset and then add all your stylings, whatever you need. But you will decide what you want to override or whatever. But before you start, you just want to reset. Yeah, normalizer always comes first. So here, as you can see, I have normalized and then I'm adding my stylings. Because first reset and then start writing your CSS after. Yeah. Okay, so here, yeah, I left a link on our slides so you can find normalize. I'm not sure how many of you played the game to practice selection from the previous lesson, but today we have another UI game, which is quite fun. I found it fun. Come on, I want to click it. It's not clicking. So yeah, it just basically train your eye to see wrong design. It's always helpful for developers because we are not designers, but we still need to kind of see the issues in the design. You probably heard about pixel perfect design, and you can train your eye to do that. So here you're basically selecting which one is correct. So yep, great. You can compare, you can click next. Here again, you're selecting this one correct, next. And for example, this one, yep. And they have 18, I believe, exercises, which is great. And they become more and more complicated. That should be fun. Spend like 10 minutes and try to yourself in that. Okay, so let's move actually to the practice. And I want to open our design. Where is it? Let me just close this. Move this one here. And we don't want to have this, not that one. Example, static line. Yeah. So we probably don't need this one anymore. Just delete everything. So here in our slides, we have a Figma link, right? Where you can find design so you can finish your project at home. So it just, you can download Figma, it is free. If you don't know what is Figma, how to work with it, this is a free application. They have some paid versions, but you don't need it. This is for collaboration. If you have a team, you might need to pay for it. But if you're working on your own projects, you don't need to. You can use free version. So basically, with Figma, you can. This is a quick introduction to Figma. With Figma, if you are a developer, you don't need to change any the design. You just want to consume it. So when you click in on the elements, you can actually export it. So see that I selected image, so I can click export, select, and that will export my image. I can see all the basically all values, colors, font sizes, etc. Sorry, and basically all the stylings, all the colors, all images. You can import all images, etc. Export all images. So this is very helpful for developers. Let me actually, I was thinking that I removed my boxes. Yeah. So are the slides on the GitHub link? No, the slides, if you scroll to the very top of this chat, you will find the link to the slides. Very top of the chat. Sorry. Yeah. So the very first and very common mistake, which is very funny to observe, that people who start using Figma, they think that, oh, okay, I have all CSS, because if you click on the element, for example, and go to inspect, you have all CSS, and they start copy pasting CSS and saying, great, I will, oh, yes, this one, yeah, slice this link. Yeah, and they think that I will quickly copy paste all stylings and I'm done, I'm great. But once they start copying all of that, all these stylings, they suddenly find that everything is broken, like everything. So yeah, don't do that. Never copy paste stylings from Figma. This is dead end. You will just waste your time, get to the point that everything is broken, and then come back and think how to refactor that. And trust me, on that point, refactoring will be a nightmare. So you just need to remove everything and start from the beginning. All you need to know from Figma is export assets like icons, images, etc. Take font sizes to understand what is a font size. Take colors, color codes, and this is it. Nothing else. So yeah, Yeah, same with XD. I agree. So again, I saw many times that when you're starting with web development, you think, oh my gosh, I saw that this tool can generate all CSS, so I don't need to be a front-end developer. That will never be the case. Trust me, because it's very dumb like application. They don't know the complexity of web development. They generate in CSS. To be honest, I don't know why. I don't know why they want to do that. Ooh, so Figma link is not working. Let me actually try to copy and send it again here. I actually had some difficulty with the Figma styling. Yeah, okay, yep. I just sent a link. Try, does it work? Ooh. Oh, right, this project. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, I can see that we have some people here. So we have Atik. Yeah, you can, by the way, you can see, yes, beautiful. Yeah, we have people here. So remember last lesson, we were talking about wireframing and how do we want to frame everything before we start development. And here's what I did. I did some preparation to frame our sections to show you that how everything should be scoped, like and basically wrapped into separate sections. And here I don't have the framing here for this section and this one, but you can try to do that on your own. So you will see the logic here. You can review slides from the previous lesson and basically the video from the previous lesson. It's not slides. And then try to implement your wrapping here as well for yourself. Great. So let's actually start. I just want to export my image. So that will be desktop lesson. Let me just name it wave PNG. Sorry. What do we have? We have image here, right? We have some image there. Code. I can export it. So code back. Let's say code background. Yep. And I want to export this one. Export. So let me just laptop table. Just code. Let's call it code. And this one just laptop. Great. So I have a few assets. So because I will start coding and like I will write my code, I will explain every single bit, but feel free to unmute yourself on any point to ask the question or any question basically, because I might miss your messages in chat. So feel free to unmute and just ask. Great. So let me just close this one. And we don't have anything, right? I just need to create folder images. And I will move all my images inside. Also, I need to create index HTML. Also, I need to have some normally to keep the clean structure, I will just have styles folder, and there I will have two files, index CSS, and the next one that will be normalized, right? Normalize CSS. And yeah, let me just quickly find normalize. Just want to copy paste it, everything from here. Run one, normalize. Great. So, yeah, we will starting from exclamation mark, right? And autocomplete, because we are lazy. So let me just change the title to, I don't know, landing page. And add our first CSS, which is link. And that will be styles and normalize, as I said. And the second one will be our index, right? This is it. Let's put some h1, hello, and let me just here, that will be index HTML. Yeah, great. We have our page. Beautiful. So let's read what we have here. And yeah, I want to have the main section. So I will create main section. Main, right? Inside, again, this is Emmet, and if you do not familiar with Emmet, feel free to ask what's going on and why I'm doing that. But I have a main, then I want to have wrapper, like basically that will be navigation for me, navigation. And I want to have like a content, for example. So div content. And here I will have nav, and inside I will have div with class container, and there I will have UL, and with inside UL I want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 allies. So inside I will have 5 allies, 5 allies, but with text item like this. And inside, sorry, and inside content, I want to have, again, div with container, div container will be very generic class to have the limit of the content area, right? So we will, if you have a huge screen, you don't need to rotate your head and have the narrow area with the content. So container, and then I want to have h1, and potentially like with probably title. Is it like that? No, so smaller, bigger. So title, and before it should be, let's say h3 plus maybe h2 subtitle, something like that, right? So this is our first section. We will have main. Inside my main, I have 2 elements, navigation and content. Inside navigation, I will have container as an extra wrapper. Then I have a list, let's call it nav list. So dot and the name means that I'm adding class to this element. So dot nav list, and then li, and then we have v multiplying. For the content area, we have just again another wrapper and h2 and h1. This is it pretty much. Hit tab and you have the layout, right? For some people who is not familiar with Emmet, it might look like magic, but it is very efficient. That is why you want to use wireframing, because when you build all these boxes, you're able to write these Emmet shortcuts, because you can see, okay, so now div, inside this, one more div is class this, then that. So you kind of see the structure from the very beginning, right? And this is what we have. So let me just go to this one, refresh, we have the layout. Let me actually move my design to the left and this one on the right. Beautiful. So let's start styling actually, because the only thing that I'm missing is the image, right? And we will add it to the element. So wave, and I'll tag wave, right? this is it. Done. First section is done. So let's start actually writing CSS. So let me split to the right, and we will have CSS here. So first of all, as you remember from previous lesson, we want to have for all elements box sizing border box. If you don't remember what it does, we have an explanation on previous lessons, because it will take us 10 minutes to explain it again. And yeah, basically this is theoretically we can specify for body font size to 14 pixels, like a default font size. So yeah, now I think we can start writing. And again, normally I'm creating sections with like comments and have like main section, so we can actually visually see when you read your code, you can see that where you end and where the section and style is. So it's very easy for you to navigate within your code. Yep. So we will create a few sections like that, and then we will just do that. We'll rename them later. Okay, great. So we have main. So for main, we want to set background black, right? Background color should be what? Is 000. That will be black. Next top, I'm just, again, it just because I'm doing that a lot, I can imagine everything what will happen with my content. So if I'm doing that something too fast, interrupt me and I will slow it down. Okay, so we have background main. We have Florence. Hello, Florence.
Hi.
Yeah. So we're setting just background color now, and the next step is our container. So container, as I said, I want to create a generic class for it, for all my elements, because I want to limit the widths. So I will say that widths of all my elements within container element supposed to be 90%, but max widths, this is where I want to limit, will take 1024 pixels. So you'll have a narrow area for the content. And then I need to have margin. Yeah, let's actually step by step, because you'll lose the idea. So here, my content area, content, where's my container? Did I miss my container? Oh, here. Yeah, right, see that I have margin on the right, which is wrong. I want to move everything to the center. So that is why I will set margin 0 on top and bottom and auto on left and right. Save, refresh. Now my element is in the center, right? This list. Great. For my image, because I want to change the image for this one, I want to set in my main, we can set add the class. Let's say I will add a class, I don't know, background wave. Yeah, save. And here in my main, I will add background wave, position absolute, right? And I want to set right 0 and top 0. So save, refresh. So my image is right, but now we lost, because of the position absolute, we lost the height of the parent, which is fine. We will fix it. All we need to do is just min height should be what? Should be 100 viewport height, let's say. right? Something like that. Or maybe, I'm just thinking, for my wave, if you have top, we might want to say bottom. I'm just thinking how to position it better. Ooh, yeah, okay, great. So now we have nicely positioned our wave, right? So we're not cutting, we actually setting it nicely. Beautiful. So you can't see any text because it's black, right? So we have black text on black background. Here you can see that we have a gap because our UL has margin. So we need to fix this. So first of all, where's my nav list? I want to set to my nav list margin 0. And let's set color to white just for now, and we will see white FFF. Refresh. We have our text, right? Beautiful, beautiful. Sorry. Also, you can see if I zoom in, you can see that this image covering our text, which should be in a different order. My text should be on top of my image. So for container, I can set Z index, I don't know, 1. 1, will that be enough? No, it's not enough. Maybe position relative, save, yes. So now you can see that my text is on top of the wave, which is great. So let's start designing this UL. You can see that by default we have these dots because this is a list, and we have padding on the left. Again, we need to reset this. So for my nav list, I will do padding 0 and what do you want to have? List style none. Right? Refresh. Beautiful. We have it. So the next step that we want to have them on one line, right? Because yeah, this is what we want on the from the design. So here I will show you a bit of Flexbox. We will not go deep with that, but I just want to show you how to, with display flex, how easy it is to align all your stuff. All I need to do is just set display flex to my navigation, to my list. I have everything in one row, right? And next thing is I just want to justify content. This is horizontal alignment. I will set to right flex start end. Refresh. I have it here. This is it, right? As this is how easy is positioning with Flexbox. So now we just want to style a bit for our UL. Actually, where's our UL? This is still navigation. I want to have margin. I don't want to have margin. I want to have padding. Top and bottom should be 1M, let's say, and left and right 0. So we have nice spacing on the top, right? We can actually add more. We can do 1.5M, and yeah, probably it's better. For each li item, so we have our navigation list. I want to add some spacing, right? Again, I want to have, let's say margin left, margin right, let's say start, or margin left, margin left, margin left, let's say 1M. Refresh. We have some margins here. Beautiful. Maybe we want to have more margins. Maybe again 1.5M. And with CSS it's always the case when you're just playing with numbers. So yeah, just playing with numbers. And here, as you can see, that we have our stuff. The only thing here that I don't like is that we want to add this line on the bottom, right? And yeah, so this is, we need to have some height for our elements. So potentially what we can do is remove padding from top and bottom for navigation list and set padding to our allies, right? And 0. Yeah. So now we will gain some height for each element. So not for UL, but if I refresh, UL has no padding, but allies, they have. And maybe it's too much, to be honest. We might even combine, this is always like a compromise. You might have something like 1M for list and half M for ally item. So now our UL has some padding, but our ally also has some padding. Great, I think this is the best option. So the next stop, does anyone know how I can make this text big? Anyone? So we can change text here, right? Just write like this. That will work. But if yeah, sorry, not just big, but capitalize everything. Make capital, all capitals. Yes. So almost. You need to have text transform, right? And then capitalize this one. And what did I wrong? Oh, no, right. This is capitalized. Sorry, uppercase. You were right about uppercase. Yeah. So now we have uppercase, right? But let's, first of all, I don't like this font. So I want to go to Google Fonts. Fonts. And I want to use Roboto for my project. And I think that on design, in our design, we have Roboto. Do we? Yeah, Roboto. Beautiful. So I will use potentially thin. I will use maybe light and regular. Maybe actually, yeah, I don't need thin. I will use just light, regular, and bold, right? So I will just copy the link to my HTML. Paste it again. You need to paste it before your stylings because you need it in your stylings. So that is why it should be before. And font family needs to be for basically for all elements or for body, it doesn't matter in our case. Save, close this one, refresh, we have a different font size, right? This text is very, letters is very close to each other. So what you can do is just set letter spacing and have like 1 pixel, for example. Refresh, and as you can see, now you have some spacing, right? Great. Sorry. So another thing is that when I hover, because it's text, I have this icon that I can select. The cursor is kind of wrong for me. So what you can do is just set cursor pointer. Refresh. So now we have a pointer, right, as a link. And now that this green thing that I want to show you. Remember we were talking about before and after pseudo elements. So here I want to actually implement them. So when I hover on my ally, yeah, I want to do something with my before. or after, actually, because it's beneath my element, then after. And as usual, when you're implementing a pseudo element, you need to have content, even if it's empty. Then display block. Then I want to have just a border bottom, let's say 2 pixels, solid, and some kind of green, but let's actually inspect the element here. Oh, whoa. Too close. Click on this one. Come on, where's it? This one. So here's a color, right? We have this color. Beautiful. So, and width should be 50%. Let's see. So if I hover, I have it 50%, right? The only problem is that I want to have it on the bottom. So I want to position absolute. How to have 4 spellings in one word. Absolute. And bottom 0 and left 0. So let's see. Remember that because we're using position absolute, we need to set for our parent position relative. Refresh. So now we have this line, right? But it's not very nice animation, it's just appearing. So not the best implementation. But what we can do, we can set sliding effect. Yeah, give me a second. So I want to have the sliding effect. That means that here for hover after, I want to have, I'm just thinking. So for after, technically we can have width 0, right? And for hover, we will just change the width. Hover, we will change the width. So width will be 50%. We will not see the difference because it still appears straight away. So all I need to do is just set transition, and that should be 0.3 seconds, for example. Right? Save, refresh. So now we have a nice animation, right? Which is great. This is what we want. We can make it slightly faster with 0.2. Yep, yeah, looks good. So the next step is, I think we've done with our navigation, with the top section. Next step is our content area. So here, that should be easy, right? Because we have content, and here, first of all, I want to change the color to white. Refresh, and we have it here. So now the problem with the content is that I want to align it vertically, right? So that means that should take the full height, the remaining height, I would say, of the section. So let's do that. Let's actually, for the content, to make it dynamic for our main, we need to set display flags, and we will have everything in one row, which is broken now. So we just need to set flex direction to column. Save, refresh. Still the same effect as it was, but now for my content, I need to set, where's my content? Flex grow 1. So that means that will take the full height, the remaining height, which is what I want, right? And now for this one, I can set display flex and align items center. And now it is here, right? The only problem is that we have margin, but we will fix it in a second. So for our H2, I want to set content H2 margin 0. Refresh. Yeah, and now it's here. We definitely want to make it bigger. So let's we actually can copy the code for the text from Figma, right? So for this one, that should be this. Here we will have this one. So for text, you can see that this one is regular 33. So yeah, let me do some math. 33 divided by 14 is 2.35 amps. So here, font size 2.35 amps. And for content H1, I want to set to 56, right? So font size 56 divided by 14 is 4. So it's 4M, right? And font weight bold. Font weight bold. So let's see. We definitely need to reduce the margin here. Great. This one should be normal for H2. So, or 400, that is the equivalent of, we actually might do 300. Yeah, 300 is better. We just want to decrease the margin, right, for this one. So margin should be 0.25 amp potentially. Let's check that. Oh, right, sorry. And left and right, 0. Yeah, something like that. Look at us. We already built the first section. Yep. Oh, right. We can see that image. Bottom is 0. Okay, okay. Fair enough. The only thing that here, main, I'm just thinking that we can set to, this is what we normally do, VH, to something like that. I'm just thinking why my image is not on the bottom. Bottom of, I know what. For my main, we want to set position relative as well, I think. No? No? Still no? So if you take, yeah, so it is top. So the only thing that I can think of is that we can use this image as a background image, and that will stretch that image. Because theoretically we can just cut this end. Right, that is why I didn't see it. Because what we can do for the image is bottom 0. We can actually not bottom, but right. I don't know, 10%, minus 10. Just to have to cut this. And yeah, so now that should be fine. Even if you remove, resize, we're still fine. Great. So now we can move to the next section, right? Next section. Ooh, we have almost no time. So the only thing that here I want to show you is how to create this stuff. So let me move to the next one, and how we call this section is Y section, I would say. So div with Y, and inside we will have 2 rows, right? We'll have div, which will be our container as usual, container, and we will have inside it, we will have 2 rows. So this technically UL, should it be UL? That can be UL. So here we can have our UL, and this one should have a li with some content, multiply 2, right? But inside this li, I want to have a few things actually. So here, yeah, that should be section. Let's say, yeah, let's keep alive for now. So we want to have this section, right? And like image section, let's say, 2 things. Div image section, and inside I want to have h3, let's say, right? And I want to have some image, and I'm just thinking about image, yeah. And the same I want to have for div text section, where I will have, based on the title and details. Title, so that will be h, I don't know, 3 as well. Title plus details, and I can see that we have at least 2 paragraphs. So I will have inside it p multiply 2, something like that. I think this is it as well. So we have Y, inside we have container, inside we have 2 LIs, in each LI we have image section, and we have text section. In text section we have title and details. Yeah, sounds about right. So the next step is basically style all of that. And yes, I'm just thinking, because we don't actually have time to do that, but maybe I can show you the layout. So if you go there, oh right, we don't have any text. So let me just quickly copy the text. So here, that will be the title. Here we will have HTML. For paragraphs, we will just copy paste this. HTML is using, and here, right? So this is the first section. And the second section is while learn CSS. And here is another text. And here more text. Yeah, and we will have CSS. So you might think that's why I have the same identical layout, right? First CSS and basically the image section, and then this one. You can easily fix this with the flexbox, because what you can do is for your let's call it languages as well, the second class, languages. And here we finish with this one, so that will be Y section. Inside we will have our li. We can also, for each, we can add some classes, like class to HTML, for example. And here we will have class CSS. So now for allies, I want to have display flags to put everything in one row, right? So we have HTML and description and CSS and description. But for CSS, I want to change the order. And here I can specify for CSS flags direction. We will set row reverse. And now we have CSS here and the text on this side, right? Sorry. Yeah, so I think that this is what we can do for today. I will try to commit this code. Yeah, I will create a Git repository and send the GitHub link in our Slack channel. So please try to build all of these sections. And if you have any questions, I bet that you will have a lot of questions. Please, not just feel free to ask, but please ask your questions in Slack. And I'm happy to help you. And yeah, basically this is how we will learn. So these lessons is about theory, a bit of practice, but you still need to write your code. And that is why just keep emphasizing for everyone that you need to spend time and build your layouts. And once you build it, feel free to share the link to your Git repo, and so other people can see your what you did. You want to make it responsive. So yeah, regarding responsiveness, I would say it's a bonus. So it's not a requirement for this for this project, but that will be definitely a nice bonus to show that you basically for you to practice the responsiveness. So yeah, I would recommend you to do that. But first, implement everything without it. Make sure that it looks as we have it in design. Do you have any questions? Yeah, I'm keep forgetting to remove this one. No? So we have a few more lessons, right? We will do more practice on the next lesson. We potentially will continue this. We will continue this page together. But again, I strongly recommend you to do it on yourself. Then we will talk more about wireframing and do more practice. Yeah, and then more just as HTML, CSS. Do you have any questions? Okay, if you don't, it's rather complicated. Yeah, Flexbox. I mean, we will have a dedicated lesson for Flexbox, and we will talk about that. So don't dive deep. Yeah. And see you after New Year. So we don't have a Christmas lesson. I know that you are keen to have a lesson on Christmas Day, but no, not this time. Maybe next year. You'll get your Santa without us. So yeah, and we will see you in 2 weeks, basically, after the New Year. Absolute. Yes. So basically, like if quickly, that means that you're you're positioning your elements to the closest non-static parent element. But I will upload our video from today right now, and you can revisit the video basically and see the full explanation, and you can just play with code examples and watch the video. Okay, cool. Then thank you and see you in 2 weeks. And Merry Christmas to everyone.